Smart24 Driving Business.
We'll be back from the break. 2 minutes past 8. Still driving your business here on Smart24 your daily kickstarter for the day. But of course, before we get into any further discussions, the markets on the Zabo platforms will be operating at exactly 8
No data,
AM.
no problem.
And of course, in the few minutes from now, going to be opening STAR292 hash is the USSD code that will avail you with quite lots of these options, where you'll be able to buy government bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Well, of course, you can invest more, but that's the minimum requirement. Now, they'll be opening at 8:15 a.m. and they'll be expected to close at 3:15 p.m. And this is effect Monday up to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays when you can access these markets. But you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make quite some huge profits from them. There is no excuse as to why you shouldn't own government bonds and securities. Zabo made this a reality, regardless of whatever part of the country you're located. This has made a reality. No paperwork, no hassle involved. It's made much more simple. All you need is your mobile phone and dial *292 hash. Well, Zabo says, my money, my future, and all Texas Africa. Do something new. Well, starting your day with inspirational sayings and quotes is quite very important as an entrepreneur pursuing to build quite a big empire, and also to any person there that you're trying to pursue a certain career. It's very good to be inspired as we take a look at some of these quotes written by people based on their personal experiences. Regarding that, it's not just head knowledge. They're speaking from a place of experience. So that's why it's very key and vital for you to take in. So now let's get into our business tips and quotes. But firstly, let's review the business tip of the day. Now, the business tip of the day says, understand what motivates your customers to buy. Of course, that's very key. However much I know we want to maximize sales, but it's also important to understand what exactly our customers want. We need to get what inspires them. Now, invest time to learn what motivates your customers or prospects. Take time to know their needs, challenges, concerns, fears. Serve them first, and your interest will be served in turn. So, it's always important. The customer is your boss. So once you please them, they're going to pay you a good check, and you'll be able to sustain in business. Unlike so many times when we want to just know. Now, of course, when he says that, take your time to know their needs. So what do they want? Amplify their needs. Make them much more interesting. Challenges. Is it pricing? Is it access? Try to look into all that. Most especially when it comes to the pricing aspect of the pricing aspect. It's one of the I think the most challenges which most customers face. I mean, you feel like you want to buy a product, but the price is quite so high. So as an entrepreneur, it's always good to be universal. At least you find ways you can cater for every person that feels like should access your product. So challenges, concerns, feedback when they complain about your probably your product. What is your feedback? How do you address their concerns? In other words, because in that way they will feel a certain connection. And of course, and fears. Now, of course, fears and concerns are interrelated, because once you can attend to somebody's concerns, then that means the fears will be reduced, because somebody will know that even if I bought a product and it didn't work like the way I expected it to work for me, I'll go back and probably get a refund. Oh, it's worked on, as my team is still responsible to make sure that we sit down as a team and investigate to take a look at what really went wrong with that product. So once that is done, I'll definitely have confidence. Me as a customer, definitely I'll come back to you and buy your product. Well, now let's sum this up as we take a look at the business quote of the day. Now, the business quote of the day says, make every detail perfect and limit the number of details to perfect. Now, you see, this now brings back to the aspect of taking time when you're doing something. You can do one thing and it's perfect, perfectly delivered, and it can move out there for the different people to consume it or to be embraced. It could be a service, whatever you're trying to deliver out there to the people. But then it's one other thing for you to do quite multiple of them, but yet they need, yes, you have a look of being efficient because you have the quantity, but if we are to examine that quantity on the quality basis, you will realize that actually there is a lot of work. So when it says make every detail perfect and limit the number of details to perfect, it's, in other words, it's trying to tell you, as you've heard of a saying which says being a jack of all trades but a master to none. You see that? And that will cost you still in the long run. You know quite so many things, but if somebody really sat you down and they told you, okay, what can you deliver with what you know, and you find that actually even the many you know still are not perfect when it comes to competence. They need to be dealt with. But if you have just one thing and you focus on it and you concentrate on it, it can actually bring you some good results in return. Well, that is it from the business tips and quotes. Hope you've been inspired by those sayings and you pick something. You see what you can actually use in your daily life. It could be today, it could be your quote for the week, or it could be even your quote for the month, and for some of you, the quote for the year. Well, now let's head straight to the social media trends. What's trending? And it's making some sort of business headlines. All right, now taking a look here, we see Dr. Otile, Uganda, says, Dear Speaker Anita Among, back home at Bukedia Health Center 4, we have only one bed that delivers between 10 to 15 mothers every day, and this isn't enough, as 3 or more mothers may start pushing at the same time, and health workers have no way out. Of course, this is the Uganda Health Exhibition. Is it? Now, of course, we are from the Protocol Exhibition, now we're heading to the Uganda Health Exhibition. Interesting, because it seems like sometimes when reactions are done in there, that's when the responsible stakeholders respond. Now, this is Outspire Jim, says, I'm getting many messages asking why we never had any comprehensive report on the COVID-19 donations and where they went. Any comment? Hashtag Uganda Health Exhibition. Okay, so where did the donations for the COVID-19? Of course, actually, majority received money, cars, of course, some giving, material support, not money. And now somebody is asking themselves where they went. So where do you think they went? Of course, among the people tagged in here is Jen Ruth, Acheng, Diana Twine, and of course, quite many other. And actually, those are people that are called to comment from this. Wow, horrible. The beds in, this is at still Dr. Otile, Uganda. It says the beds in Bali are a referral hospital where mothers deliver from. And we still wonder why, oh my goodness, that's a biological term in there. Of course, it's an infection. Why that infection after birth and so many other infections are still the leading causes of maternal and newborn death in Uganda. I mean, this is quite very horrible. Take a look at that. Hashtag Uganda Health Exhibition, definitely. Of course, talking about the reviewing the health sector. Now, this is at Matthias Mpuga. That's the loop. He says, reminds me my visit to Ara Health Center in Moyo District 2 weeks ago, where a works of a new maternity was stalled after the contractor excited by 300 million tender abandoned the contract, and no one seems to care. Too sad. A health center in Moyo District 2 weeks ago where works of a new ward stalled after, probably they paid this person 300 million. When they saw this money, They got so excited, and so they decided to, to walk away. This is at Ronald Muhinda. It says outpatients ward at Chazanga Health Center for the main hospital in Rengo District. Now, Rengo District is where Huru Hussein is RDC. Wow, this is a hashtag still the Uganda Health Exhibition. And those are some of our health facilities within the country where people go to get treatment. This is at Chigozi. He says, in 2019, I was an intern doctor at MRRH, okay? Of course, trying to survive. I was hungry, and there was a long queue of patients waiting for me to attend to them. Of course, deploy medical interns from that. All right, and the hashtag still is the Uganda Health Exhibition. Still taking a look at the difference. So horrible, so horrible. This is Nahabwe Bruce. Still on the Uganda Health Exhibition, I bring you a theater bed in Bundibujo General Hospital. Staff say this bed was brought in the 1960s. It's not recommended, but there is no option since Ministry of Health has failed to improvise with better equipment. So this is still the hashtag, the Uganda Health Exhibition. Wow, look at that bed. Look at that bed. Look at that bed. Look at that bed. It's a theater. That's Uganda in there for Uganda Health. But we are looking at the health exhibition here. Of course, as we go down with the potholes. Now, this is Dreadful 45, Dr. Chiza Blair. He says, let's not forget about the insane amounts of money extort as bribe for a regular medical doctor to be able to secure a government job, especially district officials. You make it hard for doctors to get opportunities by asking for bribes. So that means if I have the qualifications but I don't have the money to bribe you, I'm definitely not going to get that job, and somebody else is going to come and take the job, probably with less qualifications than I have. Why don't we expect havoc to happen in the health sector? By that, of course, that is Uganda Health Exhibition is the hashtag, of course, on our social media trends here on Smart24 TV, of course, as we are driving your business here. And yeah, quite lots of comments coming in from this very talk, from this very discussions. I don't know what you think. You can engage us on our Twitter handle as you have a comment regarding what is going on here. The Uganda Health Exhibition is the hashtag. And that is dreadful coming in with that particular concern about that. And it's quite very sad, very absurd for our country, Uganda, for all those that are going on. Maybe the stakeholders will be forced to take action, just like when the potholes exhibition took place and they were actually inspired. Even the members of parliament had to go on ground, and of course yesterday they were publishing their findings. Then we need to really investigate what were the reactions of the committee from their findings. Of course, more of those will be coming up on our SMB further discussions. Well, now away from that, it's 15 minutes past 8. Let's get into our next update, and of course I'll be returning for further discussions.
Last week we were with my minister in Washington DC to attend the spring meetings of the IMF and World Bank, and we were in the series of meetings we had. About 4 major things came out. Number one, international financing is going to decline across the world by over 36%. The money we have this year in the international system is going to reduce by 36% next year. That's number one. Number two, bilateral donors' pots, bilateral money. Countries like China, which are lending us, and others, their money is drying up. They are running out of money to lend. Number 3, syndicated loans and domestic borrowing is going to increase. The cost is going to increase. They're going to become more expensive because of the fight against inflation in every country. This is unprecedented to find that in every single country in the world we are fighting inflation, and this has increased interest rates of domestic financing. And lastly, countries have very limited space to increase taxes because the entire global economy is emerging out of COVID and these other shocks like Russia, Ukraine. So we have very limited room to raise more domestic revenue. We can't increase taxes, we can't introduce new taxes. And this is what is happening exactly here. Therefore, we have already seen countries, with the countries in Washington, some of our neighbors, they have been locked out of capital markets. They cannot raise money anymore by issuing bonds because they acted in a certain way a few months ago. And we were here in Uganda having a debate on the same with some members of our community here in the country saying we are doing a wrong thing. We should behave like others, like neighbors. We stood our ground. We were very unpopular because we don't look for popularity. But now results are out. Some countries are in trouble, deep trouble. They don't have dollars. They have been locked out of capital markets. They can't issue treasury bills and bonds. Nobody is interested in their bonds to buy them. And they are spending 85% of their domestically generated revenue on financing debt, paying only interest.
Well, that's IMF to cut 36% of course, donations that are put out there. That's according to the Permanent Secretary regarding that. And you see, now this is quite a very challenging aspect, calling in for the countries to be a little bit, build more resilient related infrastructure, most especially when it comes to economic exploitation of the different resources that are into these countries, not to really have third-party sponsors coming in, like IMF, the World Bank, because at a time like this, when we see the global markets are not really performing quite efficient. And he mentioned something about access to capital markets as one of the ways to attract financing. That would be something very key. Now, for the sake of Uganda and for the sake of taking a look at Africa at large at the same time, if we take a look at the unity of the different stock market exchanges, because I want to drive it back to the capital market still, I guess it would be quite an ideal aspect here. If people from the different countries buy stocks from other countries, that means will be quite a smooth flow of revenues, which revenues are very vital when it comes to economic growth and development. And once, in most cases, once they're invested properly and channeled for the right causes, that would be quite an interesting result at the end of the day. So countries, of course, need to, this is just a nudge to ensure that there is quite, you get ready for what's really coming in this way. Talking about economic, and currently we have the economic wars that are ongoing in from the different countries, the United States of America, Russia, and all that. So that makes it quite a little bit scary when it comes to what is the fate of the citizens of those countries. But as Uganda, as Africa, as East Africa, it's high time. When we cooperate together as regional markets, as continental markets, that could be very key to cover up the financing gap, and we shall not actually need third-party sponsors, third-party funders to come in to intervene into our economic matters as Africa. Well, 21 minutes past 8, and of course the markets on the Zabo platform have already opened now. 6 minutes back. *292#. What are you waiting for? That's the USSD code, *292#, and you'll be availed with quite lots of options. You can choose to buy government bonds and securities for just 15,000. That's the minimum requirement, but you can invest more than that, and life will be made much easier. Now they're going to be operating from 8:15 right now till 3:15 p.m. when the markets will close, and will go on. This goes on every Monday up to Friday, except on the public holiday and the weekends when the markets are not in operation, and actually you won't be able to access them. But you have the rest of the days of the week to capitalize and make quite some huge interest, some huge profits, which is very, very vital for your survival. And like I always say, they are really quite very interesting when it comes to covering the gaps. Well, Zabu says, my money, my future, and all East Africa says, do something new. Well, 22 past 8 now, let's get into a short break, and coming up shortly, we shall be taking a look at what's happening in the world of entertainment and sports at the same time, and quite many interesting aspects. You know, just to give you a little hint, we are of course already entering the second quarter of the year, and regards to entertainment, different companies are releasing reports regarding their performance. Now this time around, of course, we've seen Netflix put out there. We've seen the likes of Warner Brothers Discovery in there, and now Spotify, of course, has something to release to us. Now this is good for the music fans out there, musicians, most especially, if you're benefiting from the music business, most especially when it comes to digital sales and you're selling in there. I guess this would be something very important for you to check out coming in from Spotify. But of course, more of that will be exactly after the break. Good morning.